Grace and peace, friends and family. This is Joy. Welcome to another discussion. Welcome to another conversation with me. First things first, I thank you so much for pressing play and taking time out of your day to spend with me. I hope that this time will be profitable to you and that you'll be able to glean something from what I'm about to share with you, and may it be productive in your life and maybe give you some insight as you continue to journey beyond narcissistic abuse. I want to talk to you today about narcissists keeping you in darkness. And this conversation is going to also speak to the importance of your awakening. And when you awaken, what do you do when you're in that state? The goal is not just for us to awaken to what narcissistic abuse is and understand what we've been through. Our goal and our focus is to shift the attention of the narcissist. This is a long-term goal. Shift the attention of the narcissist, focus on us, and no longer ask the question, well, why did this happen to me? Why did I have to go through this? But if we could change that question, if we could get to the point where we are willing to say, okay, I'm not going to ask why anymore because I don't get the answer. When you ask why, you're told things like, well, you lack boundaries, you're codependent, you attract what you are. And there's more to this than that. But when you change the question, you say something like, okay, now that I have this experience, what am I supposed to do with the knowledge that I have? Okay, I'm aware that was a narcissist that I was in a relationship or I worked with or I was raised by, whatever your situation is. But now that I know this, what do I do with that information? They say knowledge is power, and I partially agree with it. Knowledge is only powerful when you know what to do with it. So if you are asking the question, why did this happen to me? Well, then what is your end result? What is the problem that you're trying to solve with knowing the why? Because if we truly got God to answer us with the why, would you be satisfied? Because it would follow up with, well, what do you want me to do about it? Or what is, now that I know, what are you doing with all of this? We can just go to asking, what do I do with my experience? What do I do with the knowledge? And that's where knowledge becomes powerful, when you actually begin to put it into application. So, narcissists keep you in darkness. It's like when we come out of the relationship with a narcissist, then, it's one of those terms that it is used so much, is that we feel like we're coming out of a fog. Fear, obligation, and guilt. And our vision is somewhat impaired. We don't get to see clearly, or we don't see clearly, and we're confused, and it feels like, wow, I've been hoodwinked. Wow, I've been bamboozled. What just happened to me? We ask those questions, and this is all strategic on the part of narcissists. They tend to gaslight your reality, which makes you question yourself. And even when we're coming out of the relationship, we want to know, hey, what is really real? The narcissist can tell you the sky is pink when we all know it's blue, and you end up believing them because of the way they gaslight you, or you doubt that, well, is that really blue? And maybe they said that the word blue looks like that, but in actuality it's pink. No, they're gaslighting you. They make you contradict what you know is true. And all of this just shifts your perspective, and it keeps you from seeing things clearly. Narcissists tend to embarrass you, and they hold money, or they withhold money, should I say, as well as affection and love, all of these things that are vital to sustaining your life. Another thing that is so devastating is the character assassination that they do right in front of you and to you intimately through that verbal abuse. Sometimes it's whispering in your ear, and it starts off at that conscious level, but the danger is when it seeps into your subconscious, and now you're replaying those words and you're proclaiming those words yourself, none of which are true about who you are. But then also the character assassination takes form when they run off and do the smear campaigns. And all of this is dark. There is nothing profitable about any of the things that narcissists do to you. And it starts from the moment they enter your life. And some people have been trapped in these cycles. They've been trapped in darkness. Their vision has been impaired for a long time. And when you are conditioned to think and operate in a certain way, when you're conditioned to think or operate in darkness, you can fall into a pattern where things become familiar, but it's not profitable for you because, many people, many victims of narcissistic abuse end up experiencing PTSD or CPTSD, and that includes having intrusive thoughts, invasive thoughts, or flashbacks, unwanted thoughts, avoidance, loneliness. We become extremely alert, hypervigilant. You're walking on eggshells, nightmares. You get a poor attention span, poor concentration. Your sensors are heightened, and there are changes in you. All of this does not speak to productivity. The changes in you may mean that you're withdrawing from your own life. You're no longer enjoying life. You sometimes pick up antisocial traits or behaviors. And sometimes you just have an inability to respond to things. You don't enjoy life like you used to. You're no longer vibrant. You're no longer fun to be around because all your thoughts go back to that dark place. Why was I here? Why did this happen? If I never encountered this, my life would have been better. We begin to court the shoulda, coulda, wouldas of life. For some people, their appetites change. Some eat more, some eat less. Some become emotional eaters. Some people say, I'm going to starve myself because this is the only way that I can gain control of my life. Some people just eat to soothe those emotions. Your communication changes. Sometimes you just don't talk to anybody. And we find some people who develop a dependency on drugs and alcohol just to survive what they have been through. And all of, like I said, everything that the narcissist does really keeps you from embracing the fullness of what your life has the potential to be. And in the darkness, darkness can be frightening. But for narcissists, if you think about them, the ones that you have encountered in your life, many of them like to stay up late at night. They want to, just do nighttime things. And we also know that wickedness thrives in the dark. We know that from midnight to 3 a.m., that is like what they say is the witching hour. But it's in the darkness. But, on this channel, we're not going to focus on the negative parts of narcissistic abuse. And again, I'm not going to say that there's positive parts, but we're going to shift our perspective. Yeah, you're going to shift our perspective because we're not focusing on the why, but the what now. But I want to speak to you real quickly, coming from Genesis chapter 1, verses 1 to 3. Now, I've included the text in the notes, so you'll be able to read it right there and see what it says. But it's really funny because, well, it's not funny, but everything was dark in the beginning of time. And then here we have God stepping into darkness and making himself known. And what I drew from this is the power of God. This is the power of your creator. And I want you to also consider that in Genesis 1:26, he said, let us make man in our image and in our likeness. So if you're being created by somebody who comes out of darkness and uses his voice to produce a world, an earth, to sustain life, to bring order, to call into existence, what does that say about the power that resides on the inside of you? God comes and steps into darkness and everything changes. It shifts with the power of his voice. What we can see from that is that he's a limitless God, and it's impossible to measure or calculate him. He's limitless. It is the power of his voice. It is the authority of his voice that has the ability to command and bring things into order. So when we consider what darkness is for a moment, darkness It's confusing. It can be frightening. You don't get to see your way through anything clearly. But here God comes, and the sound of his voice produces life. And it has to say something about your voice and your ability to use your voice. Your voice is an instrument of expression, and you have the right to express what you are thinking, how you are feeling, what you are experiencing. It's a tool for proclamation, which is interesting that narcissists want to take away your voice so that you don't produce what it is that you want to see. In fact, they try to dictate your voice. How do they do this? By changing your thoughts, by changing your thought patterns. And this is all done through the abuse that you encounter when you're with a narcissist. Earlier on, I mentioned some of the things and the results that it produces. None of that is beneficial to your future. All of those things keep you in the darkness when they limit your capacity to speak or use your voice. And it starts by them trying to control how you think. And that's why narcissistic abuse, for me personally, I think it's really yes, primarily this is a spiritual attack, but it's done through your mind. It's mental warfare. If they can control, whoever has control of your mind has control of your soul, and they're the ones who are able to dictate what you are doing. If we just consider for a brief moment society and culture, and if we listen to what pop culture tells people, these are the trends that you follow, this is the life that you need to have. What do you look, or what do the people that just follow these things blindly without questioning anything end up looking like? This is where people call other people sheep. It's because they don't always question, or not everybody questions what is being put in front of them. They just accept it for, oh, okay, this is the status quo and that's what it is. Fine, I'm on board. Their voice is taken away. That is what narcissists do to you. They want control over your tool of proclamation. God said, "Let there be light," and there was light. And when he said, "Let there be light," what essentially happened is existence changed. It went from being without form. It went from not having focus. Because when something is in the dark, if you wake up in the middle of the night and you're trying to go to the bathroom or whatever, and it's pitch black, you're not focused initially, because you got to adapt to that situation. But even when you adapt to that situation, your senses are heightened, because you don't know what may be in your way. Maybe there's, I forgot to pick up this toy. Maybe there's this on the floor. Whatever it is, you got to feel your way. You don't just walk through that thing confidently. It's darkness. You don't get to see. But let's look at darkness in a different way. Being without form. Narcissists want you to be without form, without personality, without your individuality, without your own thoughts. That makes you lack focus. You lack focus because their focus is not your focus. You lack focus. You have no plans because their plans take over, and you don't live for yourself. You always live a mediocre type of lifestyle. And it doesn't matter if the narcissist was wealthy and they have all the money in the world. All the money in the world does not mean that you're going to be happy. It does not mean that you'll produce purpose. It does not mean that you live, that your personal constitution is one that thrives, or one that is defined by what is light. You just have no defined course for your life. And when we consider those things, that is how narcissists are. They don't really have a solid plan for themselves. Otherwise, they would sit down, self-regulate, and figure some things out. But they live off other people. They have no purpose. They do not walk in purpose at all. And I want to say this, like, it may look like, oh, but they're a singer or a rapper and they're able to. That is not purpose. Your purpose is what is always going to point back to God to bring him glory. And so, no, there is no purpose, but that's what they want to rob from you. But here's the thing, light stimulates vision. It illuminates the way forward. You're confidently able to step into the next step. You have a vision for your life. You are focused. You have a purpose, and there's peace and safety and confidence in the light. I want to share this verse with you. It's John 12, verse 24. And I'm going to paraphrase, but it says, "Verily I tell you, unless a seed falls to the ground and dies, it remains a single seed. But if it dies, it produces many seeds." The narcissist thinks that they can keep you in the dark and you are going to die. The enemy thinks that if I drop you in the ground, you're going to die. But what God knows, this limitless God, this all-knowing God, this omnipresent, omniscient God, him. He knows that, okay, so you think you're going to bury my child, bet. My child is now a seed. My child has always been a seed, actually. And you're dropped in the ground. You're dropped into the darkness. You're dropped into the confusion, into the craziness of narcissistic abuse. But one thing about a seed that I want you to understand is that when a seed is buried in the ground, it is always going to grow towards the light. And that's because they have a protein in them that is going to, it has a light sensing, or they have light sensing proteins, and those help them find the light. When we're in these entanglements, we are always searching for something more. We're always searching for a way out. We're always searching to break through the craziness. We're always searching to come up out of that darkness. We want the truth. We want to know, why do they do what they do? Why do I feel so defeated? We are searching. That's why you ask that question, why? But I'm asking you to change that to what? What now? Okay, this is what it was. Okay, so now what? Sometimes we don't get the answer that we are seeking because we're not asking because, let me try that again. Sometimes we don't get the answer that we are seeking because we're not asking the right question. Change the question. When you change the question, you can change the outcome because you get the answer. And now here come the strategies that will help you go forward. Except the seed fall to the ground and die, it remains a seed. But if it dies, it produces many seeds. You know, the narcissist and the enemy think that when they bury you in the ground, when you are in their darkness, in their dark world, and they're consuming you with those dark, debilitating thoughts, that you're going to die there. The devil is a liar, because in the dark, when they are underground, seeds get their nutrients in the dark. There are things that sustain life because God is God. Because God knew that, hey, in a minute, I'm going to step on the scene and say, let there be light, and light is going to spring forth. Many of you, or many of us, we sought God in our journey of healing because we are tired. We were simply tired of things being the way that they were. We don't want to feel the pain of the discard. We don't want to feel the pain of rejection. We're tired of dealing with feelings of abandonment, isolation, insignificance, hopelessness. We want more. We'll never get more in the enemy's camp, because the enemy will only give you enough so that you come back. But God gives you enough to sustain your life. And when you go back to him, it's just really because he pours more into you that takes you to a new dimension, to a new level. The enemy is not taking you to a new level. He's going to give you enough to keep you right where you are, enough just to come back. That's why I say to you, be so intentional about where you go to sit and absorb information. What you're receiving is so important. So wherever you feel like this is where God feeds your soul, go there and listen to that voice. And don't just gather that knowledge, because knowledge truly, yes, it's power, but it's only powerful when you put it to action. Light illuminates the way forward, and God is light. In Acts 26, verse 18, what it says is that to open their eyes so that they may turn from darkness to light, and from the power of Satan to God, that they may receive forgiveness of sin and a place among those who are sanctified by faith in me. Those are the words of Jesus Christ. it's important that you recognize that this really was or is a battle for your soul, and you cannot entertain dark thoughts. A lot of the times we make these confessions over our lives because that's how we feel. But I need you to understand that to succeed in this game, your emotions are secondary. And so right now we're going to call those emotions to be subjected to the will of God. Right now I'm decreeing and declaring that your emotions are coming under the will of God. Your emotions shall line up with the word of God. We are not going to allow our emotions to dictate what we think about ourselves. When you know that you come from an all-powerful God, those feelings of worthlessness must die in Jesus' name and never rise up again. You've got to know what you know that you know. And that's why it's important, or what you feed your mind is so important. That's the primary thing. I want you to change the way you talk to yourself, change the way you think about yourself. And the way you think about yourself is going to start with what you start proclaiming. God didn't come onto the earth and start saying God felt. It didn't say, he felt, maybe, could have, should have, or, he came forth with a plan. You might not have a plan or a strategy right now, and that's perfectly fine. But when God came on the scene, he used his voice. And he decreed a thing, and it was so. He came forth and he said, let there be light. And there was light. So you may not know the way forward now. You may not know what to do, what to say. But I challenge you, I encourage you to speak life. Use your voice. Say things like, let there be light in my life. Let my mind be illuminated with thoughts of where to go. Let my mind be illuminated with thoughts from God. Let my decree a thing. This is, when I got this revelation a few days ago, I was like, wow. And I just started saying, let there be peace in my home. Let there be joy in my heart. Let my children delight in the ways of the Lord. It wasn't asking anymore, but I was decreeing a thing, and I expect it to be established in Jesus' name. And I want you to do the same. I encourage you to start commanding a thing. Let there be. Remember, Genesis 1:26 says that you are created in his image and in his likeness. Therefore, we go back to Genesis 1:3, and that is the power that God has, and that is the power that is in you. Move out of the darkness. You don't belong there. Those dark thoughts don't belong in your mind. And so I charge you to speak light over yourself. I charge you to speak light over your finances, to speak light over your health, to speak light over your family. And when I'm saying light, I'm not talking about light energy, but I'm talking about a path that is illuminated so that you can move into your most significant state. Sometimes, our finances may be all over simply because our mind isn't right. But if we're calling forth light to that situation, that means that, okay, now here I get the strategies on how to budget, how to spend, when to spend, where to spend, what to save, what to invest. You got to have the strategies, but your voice is a powerful tool that will transition you from darkness to light. Let there be light in your life. Let there be light in your heart. Let there be love in your heart. Let there be peace in your heart. Let there be joy in your heart. Let there be the glory of God upon your life. Friends, family, I thank you so much for sharing some of your day with me. I really do appreciate your time, and I hope that something that I've said speaks to you, and that you continue to be fearless and pursue your most significant state. God bless you.